Kevin. This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. This is a pre-recorded interview with Pastor Kevin Taylor of UR Chicago Alliance and the Rooted Community Church. Welcome, Pastor Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what started you on the road to your community work?
Great question. So I was born. I'm a native here in Chicago, and I was born in one of the most impoverished communities in the city, Cabrini-Green. So Chicago housing projects, and I've seen poverty firsthand. I look young, but I've been around the block quite a bit. And so I've seen where a community, which once started as a community, vibrant, highly sought out community to live in, after a while turned into a place that was divested in, and really look forward to trying to figure out how we could change and impact violence and poverty in the city. So my background has a lot to do with why I took the road of impacting violence and poverty here in the city.
When you mentioned that you saw how Cabrini-Green was divested, do you see a pattern of that everywhere else, many other places as well? And what in your work is helping to address this divestment?
Sure. Yeah, I think all over. If you look at our country, you look at our world. I think capitalism drives a lot of gentrification, displacement, oppression, suppression, and repression in the city, and specifically in Chicago. Growing up, seeing and hearing that the land in which Cabrini-Green was housed on was very, very expensive territory and land, and that essentially capitalism would come and reclaim that space. And so seeing that happen all around the city, not just in Chicago, not just in the state, but all around New York. You can go to places everywhere and you see the same thing happening. And what I love that's happening now is more people are starting to understand value in community, and ensuring that those who are less fortunate have equity, have a space and a place to be able to call home, but also be seen and have a voice. And so a lot of churches, a lot of nonprofit organizations, stakeholders that really see the divestment, the gentrification and things happening, but have a voice and speak up against that. I think it's helping to help folks learn about it, but then also implementing things that will help to slow that progression of gentrification, but also create a space where we can help the less fortunate, those who didn't come from a lot of resources, find their place in the world.
How is the UR Chicago Alliance? We'll talk a little bit about how it began, but how is the UR Chicago Alliance and the Rooted Community Church helping to address these three items: speaking against this divestment and oppression, helping the community learn about this divestment and oppression, and also creating a space to address this divestment and oppression?
Sure, great question. So I think at the heart of what we are working to do, UR Chicago Alliance is, if I'd have to put it in layman terms, I would say our mission is to create an alliance that focuses energy and resources around poverty and violence, interruption and prevention. And so as we do that, as we work in this vein, we do a lot of outreach. So we understand that in order to impact violence and poverty, and some of the disinvestments and all those things, one, we need to create a community for those folks that are on the margins, who feel like they don't have a voice, that aren't seen. We work to create a space so that their voice can be heard, but then also that we can impart some of what we believe we can do to help them see a brighter future, to help them see that they have value, they have intrinsic value as human beings. They have human rights, and so we create spaces all around the city, but specifically in Rogers Park with Rooted Community Church, where we do events to invite folks out. We do a ton of outreach programs, fun stuff, basketball, open mics, food pantries, like all kind of things in the community. Because as most people know that come and live in Rogers Park, that hang out in Rogers Park, they visit Rogers Park to do shopping or whatever. There's a community of folks that just seem to hang out and not have a whole lot to do. And so we work to try and create opportunities and options for them to engage and use that time to, whether it's learning something new, so educating them, hearing from them, and creating new spaces. Like a lot of the folks that are just hanging around in the community, sometimes they have bright ideas, they just have a lack of resources, or they have historically believe that they can't change their community, they don't have a voice, or they're powerless. And so what we do is engage mobilizing local churches, businesses, nonprofit organizations, stakeholders within a community to come together and identify some of these needs, some of the shortcomings and shortfallings of our community, whether it be around policing, whether it be around a number of hot button topics. We work to build unity in the community. And so that's one of the ways that Rooted Community Church, as UR Chicago Alliance, along with a lot of other partners in the community, work to address some of the issues, whether they're systemic issues, whether they're legal issues. We see ourselves as bridges to resources for those who are less fortunate and don't believe that they have access to resources, whether it be legal, having access to lawyers, having access to housing, advocacy, having access to food, jobs, meaningful work, mentorship, the feel of being part of a community. We work to make sure that we create a space where all are welcome and all feel part of the community.
I have attended some of your services, and I see that the youth over there, they're very intelligent and so courteous. They're so involved and so smart. So it
Yeah.
seems that what you're teaching, what are you teaching them?
Yeah. So we are a faith-based organization at UR Chicago Alliance. So we develop programs that unite and mobilize churches, community organizations, businesses to provide access to living wage opportunities and long-term support through a network of Christ-centered relationships. So we are a people of faith. We believe that there is a higher power, and that we believe that each person that exists was created in God's image, and they have inherent value because of that alone. And so when you start to talk to people and say, you are valued, I know sometimes the media, sometimes the music, a lot of different things can speak down on a people group, community, and tell you that you have no value. But what we do is say that you have value, and we know that, and we start to teach what we believe value is from a biblical space. And because of that, it creates a foundation for us to build upon, where we're a faith community and we accept people from every faith into our church. And, we just say, hey, this is what we believe, this is where we stand, and then have folks just engage in conversations. And when you have true dialogue, when you're having real true dialogue about where people find themselves, the need, and things that desperately have uh, are searching for, you start to create a community where it's really healthy. It's a really healthy community. The parts in which you feel like you never had, you can find it in our community. And so we try to come together, create a space where all needs are met, all our needs are met, whether it be folks that are, are on government assistance and don't have a lot of money, unemployment, or folks who have never worked. We try to create a space where we can provide resources and bridge this community to resources that we find from a private sector, whether it be local church communities, what public sector, whether it be the government, funded organizations, community organizations, federally, state. We want to make our community aware that there are resources available, and we work to help them find those resources.
When we attended your services, we noticed that there is no call for the congregation to give donations. Is it difficult for you to find funding, or are people and organizations donating to Rooted Community Church and UR Chicago Alliance to help the community?
That's a great question. So as a small church, we don't send a basket around per se. We have a link where folks can give if they have the ability to give, and so we do have a bigger church community, Park Community Church, and Park Community has a number of churches all over the city. They act as a parent church, if you will. So they help us tremendously, sending volunteers, funding here and there. But for the most part, we are under-resourced church, and we work to try and raise funds. We're working to build our community, our church community, to where the folks that have ability to give, that are church goers that would desire to come, that they could start giving, so that we can do more of our outreach, more of our engagement, so that we can, so our staff can receive, funding. The leadership team can receive funding for the work they do. But you're right, it's pretty tough when you're working in the urban centers where the demographic that you're called to reach primarily don't have funding to support you. A lot of times we go without because we just don't have. That's Rooted Community Church with UR Chicago Alliance. It's the same idea. We've been privileged to have a few people, consistent monthly donors. We've created a board, a team behind us. We have a staff. We've recently received a city federal grant for violence and poverty, gun violence prevention, and so that's helping us to hire more staff to continue to scale what we do at UR Chicago, which is essentially to go into these tough communities, engage with the guys and gals hanging on the corners. Those are our primary targets. We accept everybody into our community, but our primary target is poverty and violence prevention and interruption. So we go and we find the guys on the corner. As I said, I come from a housing projects. I grew up there, making an impact at a young age. And so I've been fortunate to be able to go all over the city in different hard to reach communities, build relationships, and bring these guys into our community, into our UR Chicago Alliance community, helping to provide resources and jobs. Then in turn, those guys turning back, coming on staff, or finding jobs and being philanthropists, giving back to our community and volunteering and being leaders in their own community. So it's kind of the model that we are creating all over the city.
Yeah, because we noticed how the food that you have, like the breakfast items, seem to be someone nice enough to cook every week for you, and it's so delicious.
Yeah, we're big, we're big on Acts Shoot Church. So for those who are not familiar, when we talk in biblical terms, uh, this is the start of the church, we believe, and we see them coming together all the time in scriptures, breaking bread or eating, right, bringing food together, talking, supping, and making sure all the needs are met, right. And so when we do that, all we're doing is replicating what we believe scriptures call us to do, is to come together, have some good food, some good fellowship. And we have amazing women and folks from the church and community that bring meals. We provide some meals, but it's really a community of love that we have created.
So what happened in Cabrini-Green, and who was your mentor? What set you on the path to what you are doing today?
Sure, yeah. So, yeah. So, my mentor name was Jeff Barnes. Um, he was from the South Side of Chicago, a veteran. He went to the war, Vietnam, came back, um, and God had called him to do outreach and to tough communities. He's a part of a program called Teen Challenge. It's a program that's all over the country, but he's a big proponent of Teen Challenge, where they help you deal with life issues. They help you overcome hurdles and barriers. And so he had found himself struggling with some issues, and went and checked into Teen Challenge. And then when he came out, graduated out of Teen Challenge, uh, he came to Cabrini, and basketball player, actor. He's just a great teacher, a mentor, and impacted thousands and thousands of people all over the country. But his main start was in Cabrini, and took a bunch of kids that were a part of a small church, neighborhood church called Cabrini Christian Center. We started doing basketball. We had a worship team. We started doing drama. We started doing hip hop, uh, and we traveled the country, sharing our story coming from Cabrini, and seeing the violence happen in Cabrini, and how lives were being impacted through a ministry similar to what UR Chicago has become. We've essentially replicated some of the things that I've learned from my mentor. And what I've learned was we would go to uh, multiple churches, all different kind of churches in the Assemblies of God denomination, and we would talk to folks, whether it be Asian churches or white churches or Hispanic churches, and we would tell them about what was happening in Cabrini-Green, and how there was a group of 13 young folks that had decided they were going to commit to violence, interruption, living a life that would model how uh, we could actually avoid the violence, we could avoid the gangs, we could avoid some of the hardships that we saw most of our friends going into. And so, meeting every day, 6 days a week, we would come in after school and we would meet every day. There was a study, there was a learning, there was drama, there was practice. Um, so learning, uh, being sheltered from the community a lot, but then being able to go out to the community, take the learnings that we had, be leaders in our community, and encourage other folks to to try alternate routes to how they were looking to provide for their family, which were illegal ways, many times the drugs, the gangs, the guns. So so that was how it was modeled for me, a way in which we could change violence and poverty in our city. And so because of that, it was a part of who I was. And so we went to a lot of different communities doing the same thing and seeing great results.
Are any of the group of 13 still working with you, or are all of you going their separate ways and doing different work?
Yeah, good. So we do a G3, which is a gospel and grow gathering. They're monthly outreach events that we do in these communities that we go into. So Cabrini-Green, Rogers Park, Albany Park, Logan Square, and then we're going to be going into North Lawndale. But we create a space, a monthly space where we're going into those places and then doing food, fun, and there's a message, a growth, whether we're talking about how to restore your credit, how to buy a home, understanding, cryptocurrency, um, like starting your own business, like growth, teaching our folks how to step into spaces and growth. So there's a gospel message, but then there's a growth message as well. So we do those all over. And when I do them in Cabrini, we have some of the folks that I grew up with that are part of they show up. Most of them are doing, professional jobs now. They're doing different things. We still have a number of them doing similar work that we do. So probably about 5 of the 13 are doing similar work that I am doing.
When you you influence youth, and then maybe some of the youth leave gangs and try to maybe uh, do something else, like to go into get some other job. Do you get pushback from the gangs, or are the gangs okay with the youth trying to uh, get a better life?
Sure. No, so in the past, that used to be the case in certain communities. What's happening now is, as with Cabrini, right? So they tore the buildings down, and then you see everybody dispersed all over the city, right? And so then uh, the locking up of a lot of the main leaders of the gangs
Mhm.
made the gang splinter, right? So there's not gang like it used to be where there was one leader, chief, and then everybody did. There's some form of that, but for the most part, everybody's kind of got their own little cliques or little crews that they call them. And so most of the folks are doing different things here and there. But it isn't as organized as it used to be in certain communities, especially in the African American community. So when we're engaging folks, a lot of time the help that we need is typically coming from the parents, right? The parents to say, hey, I want you to be part of this program because I believe what they're doing is going to be more beneficial for you. And then the kids or the young adults or the young men then make up their mind if they're going to go this route or go that route. We haven't had any pushback. There's always, there's always one or two, small guys that have convinced some young guys to sell drugs for them or to do this or to do that. And then when we start engaging those folks, they'll be a little upset, or they'll say, don't hang out with them, don't talk to them, because they're trying to keep what they believe is their way of living, the way they're providing for their family. They're fighting to maintain that status and provide for their family. And so we haven't had much pushback on that. I think the big thing, if you're going to impact violence and poverty in our communities, it's relationship, where we have to have true relationship with people, right? You can't just talk at people and say, I believe you're going to, this is the better route for you. You have to build a relationship and then pattern it for them and walk them into opportunities. And essentially that's the way we operate. So our outreach that we do a lot of outreach, and a lot of organizations don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand why we do so much outreach, but the outreach is so that we can build a relationship with the guys and gals from the community, but also they see a consistent presence of positive people in their community, because historically all they've seen has been the folks that hang on the corner that kind of perpetuate this gang lifestyle. And they see the money, they see the opportunities that they have, and that's what attracts them to them. So as leaders in the community, we are competing against that. And so how do you compete against that? Well, you build a true deep relationship, and then you start educating them, and then you start connecting them with the resources that they desperately need. And a lot of times they don't think they'll have access to. So we become that bridge for them.
How often do you meet like let's say a certain one individual? Is one time a week enough to do you provide contact information so that if they have questions or certain needs, they could, or maybe something happens, they have someone to turn to?
Yeah, so great question. So all of this is a concerted effort uh, to stay engaged with every person that we encounter, right? So the church is a major part of what we believe. So the church happens weekly. We do outreaches monthly, weekly. We're out engaging folks consistently, but we also with UR Chicago. Folks have 24/7 access to via text uh, to mentors that are a part of UR Chicago and myself, right? So when we mobilize the church, a nonprofit organization, business, or what have you, or stakeholder in the community, we take them through a training to let them know what to expect and how much energy and effort it takes if you're going to really make an impact. And so myself, I'm engaging the folks that we talk to all the time because I'm in the middle of a text chain. I'm in the middle of an email exchange. I'm in the middle of a social media exchange. So we partner the mentors up, mentor and the program participants up. We partner them up. And so we see this as a lifelong relationship, similar to how my mentor mentored me. He was always there, right? And so there's a mandatory once a week engagement from the mentor and leader. But then there's all these conversations that happen daily, always happening, all day. Hey, did you turn your resume in? Did you update it? Did you do this? And these texts are happening all day. The messages on social media are happening constantly behind the scenes, and I'm in the middle of it because I'm the glue typically that brings the folks together, right? So until they're ready to branch out on their own and start having their own dialogue, I'm in that conversation because, say, for instance, if we partner someone together, but the leader isn't so confident in the new mentor they got, they're going to be hesitant to respond, text, or say anything, or reply back, or to meet up. So I put myself in the middle of it, knowing that when we engage folks to go through our program, part of your requirements that you sign off on is that you're going to stay engaged, right? So if a mentor reaches out to the leader and the leader doesn't respond, I chime in. Hey man, what's happening? He's trying to reach out to you about this. Did you get it? And 9 times out of 10, usually that person responds back, right? So we're keeping the glue going with conversations always. So we spend a lot of time around outreach and wraparound services. That's part of our wraparound community.
So how did the UR Chicago Alliance begin, and which came first, the Rooted Community Church or UR Chicago Alliance?
uh, so um, UR Chicago started in 2017. There was a group from Willow Creek Church on the North Shore, Willow Creek. So Willow Creek has a number of churches throughout the state, but the big ones, Barrington, and they got one in downtown Chicago and one in North Shore. So anyway, in 2017, there was 16, 17 in Rogers Park. I think around the same time, there was this serial killer that was shooting they killed a couple of people in Rogers Park. And it was really scary. It was a scary time because folks didn't know what was going on. They never called anybody, and it was like, what is happening? And so the folks at the Willow Creek North Shore heard about that. And everybody knows that like um, violence spreads, right? Like, so it doesn't stay one place. It just kind of spreads if you don't deal with it. And so the folks in Willow Creek, they heard about it and they were concerned. Like, we're well-resourced church in the North Shore, and we want to impact violence as well. And so they decided to put together a crew, a team, almost a task force, if you will, to see what would be the best way we could help Chicago impact violence and poverty. So a team came out to Rogers Park and started talking to a number of stakeholders in the community that are already doing the work. Good News Partners, Vineyard Church, a couple other folks, and they went around asking, so what do you guys think is the best way as a resource church we could help impact violence and poverty? And the folks that are from our community, as you noted, resources are like bleak in our community. Sometimes we don't know where to find them. And so we knew that helping folks in our community find living wage work would help reduce the violence drastically, right? So everybody was communicating. We got to have a jobs program. We got to have a jobs program. And so I was invited into the conversation. I shared my years of experience, the work that I've done starting businesses to help employ, guys from the community that wouldn't have a chance or didn't really trust, trust folks that they didn't know or never had a job before and was fearful about going to fill out an application or, go in and do an interview, right? They could hang on the block and they're shooting out there. They'll be out there all night. But to go do an interview and meet up with some folks, they were like, no, I'm never doing that, right? They were just fearful of doing that. And so we knew that we had to get something that was hyper local in the community for our guys, that they had a relationship that would draw them in, and we would get them in a space to create this community and support them, right? We create this space that was safe for them, and then we support them. We'd hear where, oh, I didn't graduate 8th grade. I don't have a GED. I never did this. I struggle with reading, or I struggle with this or struggle with that, right? Being able to create a safe space where someone that looked like them, was from the same community, had the same background, could relate to them, and then start to help them make some progress. So we knew that this would be the best path forward to impact violence and poverty. And so 2017, we launched a pilot. Um, so that came before Rooted Community Church, but Rooted Community Church grew out of Park Community Church, started a location in North Rogers Park. So Rooted Community Church is formerly North Rogers Park Community Church.
And North Rogers Park Community Church was like a branch of Park Community Church.
It was, yeah. We branched out from South Rogers Park Community Church.
Oh, so South Rogers Park Community Church is still there.
It is. They meet in Sullivan High School.
Oh, okay. So in other words, what the Rooted Community Church seems to be doing, and UR Chicago Alliance seems to be doing, is imparting life skills to these people in need.
Exactly right. That's our vision behind it. But more than that, so with UR Chicago, what we consider ourselves is a time machine, right? So when we engage somebody for the first time, and we don't know what struggles they have, what areas that they need support in, like all these things, whether it be trauma related, whether it be mental health, whether it be education, financial, whether it be abuse, all, like, you don't know what when a person comes to you, right? So what we say is we're a time machine. We build a relationship. We identify the areas in which our folks need that support, and then we work our way back. We go back to that place and we start shoring them up with, in your household, there was some verbal abuse, there was some physical abuse. All right. So how do we, through our lessons, have a conversation around it and then connect you with resources that will help build you up in that area. Maybe you dropped out of 8th grade. Maybe you didn't finish high school. Okay, or you need your GED. How do we have that conversation in a healthy way and say, "Oh, let's get you some support around X," right? So we go back, we identify those areas where there's deficiencies, and then we support them. We bring the church, the nonprofit organizations, the businesses, and stakeholders all to the table to help create a person and help them to be prepared for corporate America, or to start a small business and start to thrive and become a healthy contributor to society.
When when you try to bring when you go back to like the time machine, as you said, uh, you named the church Rooted Community Church. So is rooted in faith, or is does rooted have something to do with this time machine that you're talking about? Because you're going back to the roots and seeing what deficiencies are in the roots, and you're addressing those deficiencies.
No, you're absolutely right. So that's the idea behind the name. A lot of the people, Pastor Scott, Pastor James Crockett, all the folks have been in the community for a long time. And a lot of times, especially in Rogers Park, historically, you'll see churches maybe come in, they'll be there for a little while, and then they'll leave, right? You'll see resources come, and then they'll leave, and then they'll come and they'll leave. And the folks that we engage, a lot of them have separation issues because of maybe a loved one who was there and then left, or who was never there, right? So they have these issues of part-time support and part-time love. And so as leaders in the community, we wanted to be clear about, like, when we are engaged and we are here for the long run, we're rooted in the community. Like, we got deep roots in here. We're going to be here for a while, and we're actually going to the heart of a lot of the issues that we see in our community. And as we identify those issues, we come up with some solutions that we believe will help make whole people and start to see benefits long-term, just engagement, being part of something where they are seen and heard and known. That's big for us.
You know that there are a lot of vacancies along Howard Street.
Yeah.
What you are doing, is there any way that what you are doing could help help address those vacancies?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of vacancies, and we've been praying about locations for us to personally we believe God is calling us to scale. We do a lot of great work. We have a lot of great connections all over the city. And the idea behind the workforce development is, one, to try and create a solid workforce, right? So preparing folks to go into the work field if that's what they desire. So equipping them with the needed tools, or partnering them with someone that can help develop some skills, going back to school, becoming educated, taking up a trade. All of these things feed into helping build a thriving community. So some of our desires are to start small businesses, to start some medium-sized businesses that are absent this community, and having some of the folks that go through our program actually find funding through our community privately, but also through the state, as well as business loans and things like that, to help create their own businesses and help support the community to help start to thrive. So yes, those are some of our long-term plans as we continue, like, engaging as we do a cohort, as we do a class, and bring these guys together. We recruit them, we bring them together, we take them to a training, we speak life into them, we start hearing their visions, their dreams, what they believe, and some of these guys have some really, really great visions and dreams about owning their own barbershop, owning their own laundromat, or owning their own clothing store, or owning different things. And so how do we work to um, support them so that when folks in the community see someone from their community who was probably on the street corner hanging out, trying to figure out life, now a business owner hiring folks from the community, it changes things drastically. So that's our long-term vision. Our vision is to redeploy, once our guys graduate, back out into the community to be owners, to be philanthropists, and to impact the violence. Because when you are from a community, when you go into the community and you speak to the guys and say, hey, we're not doing this on this corner, you're gonna have to stop doing that. They listen to you because you're from the community. Our job has been historically, what is the alternative that we have for them if we're going to tell them to get off the corner, to stop selling drugs, to stop engaging the gang life, to leave that destructive cycle alone? What are the resources that we're making available to them? And so that's the question. The nonprofit organizations, the businesses, the churches, the government, the mayor, like all the folks, these are the questions that we have to answer if we're going to see violence and poverty impacted.
It's a lot of work. I could see how you need to that outreach and wraparound services has to continue for a long time to build that relationship and build that work. Do you have any success stories yet, or is it just too early?
No, for sure. We have tons of success stories for our organization. Like I said, we've been in since 2017. We have graduated 13 cohorts of leaders. We call our participants leaders. So we've graduated 13 cohorts. I can recall. I'll say this story. There's a guy named Wendell Pierce. Um, he had a longtime guy from the west side of Chicago. Um, Never really had sustainable work, small in and out jobs, odd jobs, in and out of prison. He got out of prison, and it was kind of like a third strike. They sent him out to one of our partners, which is a safe haven. A safe haven is kind of a halfway house for those folks that are returning, so returning citizens. They have to stay at the halfway house, and then they sign out in order to go look for work, become part of a program, or join like the trade or something like that, like trade school. Anyway, Wendell was a part of Howard area community. He had picked up a small job over there, but it wasn't paying him enough. He was still at Safe Haven. And so I saw him, and he saw some flyers we were passing out in the community. And he's like, hey, I want to join your program. And so he joins our program. He shows up every day early. Uh, all the homework we're giving him, he's doing, never missed a day, really committed and focused. And so when it came time to graduate, what we teach is those folks that demonstrate that they are most excited, most committed, those are the folks that we're going to be looking for when all of the opportunities, the jobs come. So we go out, we have a small team, a skeleton team, myself and another person. I'm running programming. They're looking for employers. So there's an employer side of our organization where we go out and find partners that will hire our graduates. Well, anyway, one of our earlier employers was Tim Anderson from Focus Construction. He's from Focus Realty, basically one of the major construction contractors around the city. Um, Wendell had no background of work, anything like that. We were able to get him hired in a union. And a funny story was he got his first check because he had been in and out of prison. It was a little nervous about looking at his check because it had too many numbers on it. So he calls me up and says, "Hey, Kevin, hey man, I think something's wrong with my check." I think it's like, man, what's happening? What's wrong with your check? He's like, man, look, I got all these numbers on it, man. I think there's something wrong. I was like, no, you in the union now. So union, you guys making a lot of money. And he's like, no, I don't believe that. Can you call the secretary at Focus? So I pick up the phone. I got him on the line with me. And I'm like, hey, can you tell Wendell that there's nothing wrong with his check? He's seen the amount and it's just looking like something wrong. He want to go back to jail for forgery or any kind of fake stuff. I don't want to turn this check in. I don't want to take it to the bank, right? And so she got on the phone, was like, yeah, whether you're part of the union, when you're in union wages are $43 an hour, such and such, such and such. Um, and she said so he was just floored because he never saw a check with that much money on it, with his name on it at that. And so we have relationships with a number of employers that are partners with us to help our folks transition from maybe having very little corporate America experience, very little work skills, to be able to work with them. And that's the value of having partners. We got this partner through Willow Creek North Shore. So partnering with that church, finding employers within the church and mentors within the church or to volunteer and be involved has helped us greatly. And we have a number of stories in the same vein of folks who've never had work, never had job experience, or very little, or had breaks in employment, helping them through the relationships that we establish be that bridge to those resources.
When people such as Wendell graduate, they're so busy with their job that's paying so well. Are they able to find some time to give back to the church that helped them?
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, like sometimes folks will volunteer and come up and say, hey, I can't do this, but I can give, I can give this month, or I can do this, or I can do that. Oh, you guys are having a graduation. The graduation is a big celebration. And so maybe they'll provide, drinks for that, or maybe they'll show up at that. So we do understand that's a good problem to have when we take guys that are on the street corners and get them work, and they're so busy working and taking care of their family that they can't always volunteer, but the heart, right, their heart is still where you are, Chicago. So yeah, we have that, but some people they work, and because they love so much what you are Chicago has done with them, they do volunteer. They become uplines, which we call our mentors. We call them uplines. So they become uplines and give back, or they come in a training and give some cross-cultural urban experience and knowledge to help folks that are coming from different backgrounds. So very, very cool system that we've created.
You are also very busy too, with so many programs and meetings and being a part of these two organizations.
Yeah.
Is that all you do, or do you still have a day job that supports this work?
So You Are Chicago is my day job. So
Mhm.
I do that full time. And then with the church, I do church a little part time. It's like very part time. I'm also a member of Chicago Fellowships Board. I'm on a number of boards as well. And these are ideas and spaces that are strategic. So Chicago Fellowship is the Christian businessmen uh, of Chicago. They are the who's who of Chicago, and so they meet on Friday mornings. But in this community, we're helping partner with them to be involved in some of the tough communities, some of the divested communities. So then they are talking to their wealthy friends about how we can engage. Same thing you talked about, the stores on Howard Street, like talking to some of their wealthy friends and saying, hey, we need to invest over here, or we need to invest over there because this is important. And we can partner with You Are Chicago or Rooted Church to actually help this community thrive. So we do a lot of that. So those are some of the main things that I do. I do a lot of more other things I won't disclose here, but I stay busy. I was trained up to do it at a young age. I saw a lot of really hardworking folks committed full time, and so that drives me, and it helps me to work to be a mentor and pattern this work ethic for the guys that we're engaging. So I'm always working. And I also, my wife will appreciate this, also make sure I find time to hang out with the family and date my wife and take the kids and hang out and do different things like that as well. So
Is is Focus Realty and Construction, are they part of, is that organization part of the Christian business of the Chicago Fellowship Board? The,
They are so the CEO is not, but he is a part of some other stuff. But some of their members, I think some of their members attend. So because everything is right now has been Zoom, so we get like 60 or 70 men from all over the everywhere that join. So we have one of the guys from the Chicago Fellowship just recently joined our board as well, right? So it's like as you engage, as you starting to do all these things, you start to see why engaging with certain communities and how that plays into building the fabric of some of the communities that struggle a little bit. So everything really is interconnected.
so you say that the Chicago Fellowship board member is also on the board of UR Chicago Alliance.
Yeah, just recently joined. Yeah, so we
Wow.
have members from all over, a lot of businessmen on our board. We have some folks from major churches and bankers, and just God has been faithful to bring us a really tight knit group who understands the violence, the poverty, and what's needed to actually make major impact. And we're a small organization now. A lot of people don't know us as UR Chicago. They know me because I've been doing this work for 36 years, but as part of other organizations. So now that I'm starting UR Chicago, they're able to come alongside of me and support a work that we've created.
And you, who started UR Chicago Alliance again? Like you and a whole bunch of people, or it was there and then you joined.
No, so it was there when so Willow Creek had an idea
Oh, yes, yes,
of
yes, got it.
coming, yeah, coming to Impact, and so but there was no real concrete thing there. So myself and another young lady from Willow Creek, Loretta Jacobs, we basically hashed out after we gathered all this information with my background and my experience, and just bringing that there. We created it from the ground up.
Oh,
So yeah, so we're the founders.
yeah, you're practically co-founder with Loretta Jacobs of UR Chicago Alliance. And one more question. What does UR Chicago stand for? Is it UR, YOU, and ARE Chicago?
Good question. That's always one of my trivia questions at our events, because it's if you listen to music or rap, it's a double entendre. That means it has two meanings, right? So one of it is we're spelled the letter U, the letter R is urban resiliency, right? So urban resiliency, Chicago Alliance. We are the Urban Resilient Chicago Alliance. Essentially, we go into these communities and we see the folks that have been forgotten about, falling through the cracks. They're assets. They're assets to our world, to our community, would be an asset to any business if they were invested in, if they were supported, right? So urban resiliency, they bend, but they don't break, right? Our guys have gone through a whole lot. They're resilient. And then the other UR stands for you know, with the new tech age, the young folks, UR stands for your, right? So it's short for your. So this is your Chicago, right? So the violence that you see happening in Chicago, you have to take responsibility for it, right? If you want your city to look better, this is your Chicago, right? And so join this alliance so we can help change and impact it. We're not a organization that feels like we can do it on our own, although we have had success with doing it just who God has brought with us. We know that we have to have partners. We know that if we're going to impact violence wholesale, we have to partner with people who are like-minded, like-spirited, and really are working to make a difference. And so it's your Chicago Alliance.
And
But
how
great question.
how could our listeners learn more about you and contact you if they need to?
Sure, yeah. So you can go on our website. You are the letter U R ChicagoAlliance.org. On our website, you'll see a video of some of my background, some stories of some success stories, folks going through our program, their thoughts, their experience. You can see some of the stuff that we're doing, some of the plans that we got coming up. You also can join us on Facebook. We have a Facebook You Are Chicago Alliance page. On there, we share. Our community joins there. A lot of our leaders that graduated have joined that page, and this is how we keep in contact with them. Some of them are not the email kind of people. They're not the text kind of people. They're on social media. So you guys can join us that way as well. Be part of our community. We have an Instagram, You Are Chicago Alliance.
Thank you so
Phone
much.
number, you can reach us at 312-515-1940. Leave a message if you can't.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pastor Kevin Taylor of UR Chicago Alliance and Rooted Community Church for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Be safe and thank you again.
All right. Thank you.